Yeah, we're going live. We are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Young CPO Dialogue. Deep Thought has been organizing the Young CTO Dialogue, the Young CXO Dialogue, and last weekend we had the Young CAO Dialogue. This is probably the 7th in the series while we are trying to expose learners to strategy and policy level thinking. What is strategy and policy level thinking? What is the difference between a product manager and a CPO? How does a product manager think? How does a CPO think? We'll probably get to see a bit of that today. So we'd like to first hear the introductions of both the teams. So team Darwin, would you want to introduce yourselves?
Hi everyone, my name is Satya. I study in grade 6 and I'm in team Darwin.
Thank you, Satya.
Hi, I'm Aryan. I'm studying in grade 6. I am in grade team Darwin.
Thank you, Aryan.
Hello everyone, I'm Jay and I'm currently working as a Deep Thought product associate and working in the marketing department.
Thank you, Jay. Now over to team Eric Rees.
Hi, this is Doel Mishra. I'm a product researcher in Deep Thought, and I'm representing Team Eric Rise.
Hello everyone, this is Ayushi and I'm a product researcher at Deep Thought and I'm from Team Eric Rise.
Hello, I'm Kushali and I'm from the product research team of Deep Thought. I'm from the team Eric Rise.
Thank you, Kushali. We'll now request the jurors to go ahead with your introductions.
Okay, I'll go for Vishwanathan is what my screen says. Vish is what I'm generally called. First time here, looking forward to an exciting conversation and lots of learning.
Welcome, Mr. Vish.
Same here. Thank you for having me. My name is Uday Tonangi and you can call me Uday. I'm glad to be here, willing to listen and learn.
Welcome, Uday. Hope you'll have a lot of fun.
Hi, this is Madhu Vadlamadi. Simply Madhu Madi. What are the best names you'd like to call me? And I'm a manager, nothing else, to be frank. I'm a core data person, so anything with respect to so my life is 1001, nothing else. So let's have fun.
Welcome, Madhu. So during today's dialogue, the teams will be responding to a question for discussion. The question for discussion is pick up a service which you like, which you're going to productize. And if you are the CPO of this company, which is going to build this product, what is your 100-day plan? As a CPO, what would be your 100-day plan is the question for discussion for today. So over to team Darwin for your response to the question for discussion.
So the service is helping people decide branding for their company. And the product we're making is an app that makes a branding strategy for them. Our 100-day plan is for week 1 and 2, we'll create a vision for the product and set OKRs. For week 3 and 4, we'll interview the people who are related to the service, like brand managers and people who help other people make brands. Week 5 and 6, we'll build a strong team of people who can create the product and have experience. Week 7, we'll make guidelines for the product creation, and in week 8 and 9, we'll make an MVP following those guidelines. In week 10, we'll send the MVP to the coder so that they can code the app.
Oh, wait, hold on a sec. I think we all lost you. So can you go over the plan? Okay, what is the service you're working on?
So the service is helping people decide a branding for their company.
Okay, helping people decide branding for their company. Okay, so you're going to convert this into a product.
Yeah.
Okay, so your 100-day plan, can you go over that?
So week 1 and 2, we'll create a vision for the product and set OKRs.
Okay.
Week 3 and 4, we'll interview the people who are related to the service, like brand managers and the people who help make branding for other companies.
Okay.
Week 5 and 6, we'll build a strong team of people who can create the product and have a lot of experience.
Okay.
Week 7, we'll make guidelines for product creation.
Okay.
Week 8 and 9, we'll make an MVP following those guidelines.
Okay.
In week 10, we'll send the MVP to the coders so that they can code it.
Okay.
In week 11, we'll show it to loyal customers and ask for feedback.
Okay.
In week 12, we'll work on the feedback.
Okay.
In week 13, we'll show the second iteration of the product to a lot more customers.
Okay.
In week 14, we'll work on the feedback that they give for the second iteration.
Okay.
And in day 99 and 100, we'll release the version 3.
19 and 100 doesn't? Oh, you still left. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you do on day 99?
Day 99 and 100, we'll release the third version of the product.
Oh, in 2 days.
Yes.
Okay. God bless your coders. Okay. So on that note, I'd like to invite questions from Team Eric Ries.
Okay, I have a question, Satya. As you pitched in that you will be helping to brand different companies, right? So how did this product come to your mind? I mean, what kind of SWOT analysis and all you have done to, think about this kind of a product?
Okay, fun story behind it. This is actually inspired by Tarun sir. We were having a meeting the other day and we were discussing about adjectives and nouns and verbs that you use for branding. And we thought of an app to make that shows them suggestions on what to use. So this is inspired by it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, do.
No, you go ahead with your question.
You said you mentioned in your fourth step. Sorry, I was not noting down the weeks, but I just noted as steps. So fourth step is establishing guidelines. So
Yeah.
people who come to you, they will have their own brand guidelines. So how do you, as a product company, cohere all those different brand guidelines into your guideline?
So these brand guidelines are not for other people. These are for our creation of the app. Like these are the guidelines that we use to make our app.
So how do you ensure that the brand guidelines of other people's companies are maintained through your product?
We'll show them if they're not following their guidelines, like Grammarly.
I did not get the answer.
Okay, so while they sign up for the app, we'll ask them questions about what their app is, what their business, what it is, how they want to position themselves, and questions like that. And depending on that, we'll help them form guidelines. And whenever they don't follow their guidelines while they're advertising or doing something, then a pop-up will appear showing them that you haven't followed the guidelines. And you can make this change, that change, and that change, like that.
Okay, so just a clarification question. That pop-up will tell them to adhere to their own brand guidelines.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, all right, makes sense.
Okay, Satya, I have a question. I think the first part we already got it. How would you like to, test your product? Where would you like to test it, and how would you, test it?
Okay, so we'll test our product Yeah. So for the iteration of a product, for the first iteration, we'll show it to loyal customers. So we can show them that we're working on the app, and even if it's not good, they'll give us feedback, which is why we're doing it. And we'll improve it. In iteration 2, we'll show it to a bigger amount of audience. And depending on that, we'll take feedback and release the third version.
Satya, while building a team, if there are different opinions of people around, how you as a CPO would, resolve it?
I didn't understand your question. Could you elaborate, please?
So while you'll be building a team of yours, so there will be different people with different opinions for this product ideas, right?
Yes.
So how will you make them come on the same page?
We will dialogue and try to come up with the best possible way to solve all of those problems. And we'll also take feedback from customers. So yeah, if we need to change it, we'll change it.
Okay, I have a question to, all team Darwin. So you are, basically, on behalf of the company, you're doing the branding. So is it, how much quality branding can you do for that company? Because if I don't understand that company's, vision, mission, everything, the culture of the company or what they are planning to do. So what kind of, what kind of understanding will you have with that company so that you come up with the best branding possible?
So we'll try to go very deep into into their vision and their mission, so that we can understand it and we can provide good advice to them.
How do you plan on going deep?
We'll ask them a lot of questions.
Only questions will, solve this?
We'll ask questions, we'll have dialogues, so we can understand their brand completely.
Okay, and why would they come to you for branding?
Since we're providing them a product that helps them brand their things.
But then the companies will already have brand managers. So why are you so sure that those brand managers will come to you? Then why the need for brand managers?
Okay, what is your definition of a brand manager?
Okay, so for me, a brand manager is something who ensures that the brand guidelines of the company are maintained while advertising or while marketing.
So as we are a product, we can do it in a cheap cost rather than employing a brand manager.
Brand manager is like a service, but we're a product, so we'll do it in a cheaper way.
No, but initially your end users are the brand managers. People who are coming to you for branding will be the brand managers of different companies, right?
Not necessarily. Anybody who wants to brand their product is our target audience.
So companies already have brand managers. Why would people come to you?
We're providing our product. We're providing the service of managing their brand in a cheaper way.
So what are the 3 virtues of your product?
Low cost, less need for human skill, and high quality.
Okay, I have a question. Quality. Less need for skill. So don't you think that, you need a, lot of skilled person to do the branding?
We will not do it. Our app will do it.
Okay, but for the app to, I mean, you need to, create that feature in that app, right? So you need that kind of a brain to, develop that. So you need some skilled people for to understand
Yes.
branding well. Otherwise, that will go wrong.
I'm telling the virtues like for them. It'll be low cost for them. We'll be giving high quality, and they won't need very skilled people.
Right. Okay. Right. Got it.
Okay, I'll have to end the thread here. It has been very interesting, but I'll have to play the bad cop and manage time for all of you here. So while we end this thread, let me also tell all the audience that the behavior researchers of Deep Thought are doing a very interesting experiment on LinkedIn while this event is going on. So in case you want to read an interesting commentary of the thought process of the participants, you can read that live on LinkedIn. It's going to be coming up in a while. So for all the behavior research team, I hope you've left your insights on the thread for everyone to read by now. This concludes round one. So every behavior researcher is leaving 2 insights on the threads on LinkedIn after every round. So we're doing this very interesting activity from today. We'd like to request the jurors to move to the jury room so we can help you with the scoring process. So you can just click on the breakout rooms button and that will show you the list of breakout rooms and you'll be able to move yourself. So please let me know in case you're having any problem in navigating to the breakout room. Madhu, you could move to the jury breakout room. In case you're having a problem, please let me know. You can just click on the breakout rooms button and you'll be able to move. Okay. So while the jury is scoring, any reflections based on the first round?
So I learned that it's important to understand the intent exactly, or the context what the other person is saying. In this case, we're asking, so that we can effectively build on the idea.
I have a question. Can I ask?
Go ahead.
So,
Please go ahead.
how do you ensure that? How do you ensure the quality of your branding? I mean, what if you gave them a certain word, you gave them a certain positioning strategy, you gave them everything, but seems like the strategy which you gave them is not working out for them? So, what will you do in that case?
Inside the app, we'll try to experiment that in which case would it make it more effective, and through experimentation we would come up with an effective solution.
The question, can I go? So even though you try to make effective and try to do experiments and make a strategy effective, but don't you think it's not one size fits all? So even if you come up with a strategy, but it might not work for every company or something, the brand guidelines or whatever strategy. So how would you do it?
We are referring to the specific user who are having this problem.
Yeah.
So it's not that all users, or are you questioning on something related to that specific user? I didn't understand.
So basically, your brand will have one strategy. Your app will have one strategy, right, to help everyone build on their brand guidelines and all, right? So when some companies would not go well with that strategy, it won't work for them. So how will you fix that?
We can make it customizable so that they can choose what type of branding they want, or for example, where they're branding. Like, let's say if they're doing it on LinkedIn, we'll keep an option saying LinkedIn, since the branding you use in LinkedIn could differ from the branding you use in Facebook.
So in case of customization, don't you think your cost would rise?
It would, but I don't think it would be that much.
And it's my perspective that we would try to do that customizable thing in the starting stages, so we can do some money negotiations and lose some after we become a good large company.
What about that in the long run, like when people need it?
Yeah. So probably at the start, as Aryan and Satya mentioned, we would collect some basic ideas and parameters to which the people can set their brand guidelines. And as we go on, we'll collect those case studies and keep it with us to ensure the brands that they can ensure the quality of their brand depending upon the attention that they have while making a strategy for a certain branding.
Okay, I had a question, like, Satya, you answered right at the beginning. I mean, you got this from, Tarun sir's idea, but when do you think in your plan, experimentation and exploration will come into place? How much have you explored, and when will you, experiment with your product that you have created?
In the beginning phase, we'll try to explore our product and see what all possibilities could happen and what new things we could add. And we will be experimenting with our apps while we're giving our iterations.
Okay, during the iteration stage, or once you will still keep on experimenting after the launch of the product as well?
Even after that, yes.
Okay.
And we'll always keep exploring.
Okay. So you will be keeping on, evolution will be there in your product constantly.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Do you think it will affect the user experience? Constant changes in the app?
It could, but we'll try to make them subtle so that it's not that much of a hindrance to you.
Okay, looks like the jurors are back. So there was a very interesting reflection session going on while you were marking the responses. So we'll now be starting round 2. We'll be taking some questions from the audience. So audience can leave your questions in the YouTube thread, or you could also be leaving your questions on LinkedIn. If you're leaving your questions either on LinkedIn or YouTube, that will reach us and we'll be taking some of those questions live. So the first question is, what do you mean by, you said people should use your product because you've got better quality. So what do you mean by the quality of your product?
We'll try to give them the best possible strategy to brand themselves.
Okay. So for you, quality is the strategy, is it?
Quality is how good the strategy is and how good their user experience is.
Okay, can you elaborate on the user experience bit?
So we'll try to design our app so that it's very user experience friendly and people
What do you mean by user friendly?
So they can use it very easily. And
what do you mean by use it very easily? Can you elaborate a bit?
Okay, so it will have a very simple UI to go through, and it wouldn't be very hard to find out about that.
And also we'll focus on the feelings of the user. Like if we tell that, okay, your branding is really bad, so they might feel bad, so we would try to make it to the growth mindset.
Okay. So the next question which is coming in, how would you be able to provide such high quality at a low price?
because it's based on technology, so it can do high quality things, and as we have high scalability, we
Okay. Yeah. So one last question, which we'll be taking in this round is, if there's any problem in the company brand guidelines, so are you going to help them in revising the brand guidelines?
Yes.
And how?
We'll try to see what they want to do with their company, and we'll see if their brand guidelines are helping them in doing that. If it's not helping them, then we'll show them how it's not helping them and try to make them again.
Okay. So one last question in this round is, if I'm a brand manager and I've been doing a good job for my company. So two parts to this question. Part one, should the company continue with me, or you're going to kick me out of my job because the company is going to use your product? Because let's say I'm paid a very good salary because I'm good at my branding. That's my part one of the question. Part two of the question is, if I still continue in the company, can you help me in doing a better job for my company? How would great brand managers benefit from your product to do an even better job? So these are two parts of the question.
Part one, you would probably be fired.
Okay.
Since we're using technology and our app is cheaper than you, so requirement of human skill is less.
What if my CEO doesn't care about the money and wants to get the best creative ideas?
Our app offers creative ideas.
Okay, so the second part of the question, any way you can help me in doing a better job?
So we would try to involve you in the process of deciding the brand guidelines.
Okay. So Aryan, would you want to move somewhere else or something? Just check. Would you want to move somewhere else in your house so that there's less disturbance?
I'm on a desktop.
Okay, no problem. So, okay. So let's say okay, I'll cheat a bit and ask one more question. The last question to probe your reasoning is, all the companies are going to use your product. So if my company wants to be different, and in branding, that uniqueness is extremely important, right? So if all companies are using your product, so shouldn't my company keep me in my job so that that uniqueness comes in? So keep me rather than use your product.
Our product is customizable so that you can make it so that we emphasize on your uniqueness.
But everyone is using the same product. Now, how will the uniqueness come out? What if people don't personalize it so much? Then the brand uniqueness is gone.
We give them the option to personalize it a lot.
The question is, what if they don't? What if they don't?
We would tell them that your uniqueness is not so great as compared to our other users.
So then your product depends on people's ability to use your product and do it in a unique way. And if people are not able to do your product, would then fail, right? Okay, so with this, we'll be ending the second round. We request the jurors to move to the breakout room so we could help you with the scoring process. So while the jurors are scoring, any reflections from the participants?
Yes. So
Swasti, please organize the reflection and be back in a while.
I learned that you should also think about would the people be able to use the app or not, and that the app shouldn't depend on the ability of the user, but it should be depending on the app.
My reflection is not only thinking about the product and then making it and launching it, but also you need to always be on your foot to always evolve your product based on the market market research and whatever is the current scenario. So yeah, this is one thing. And also we have to also think about, if I am thinking about a product which will which will not require so much of skills, that will not go into the cost. Maybe we are being cost effective, but we have to also think in our mind that later this might be a disadvantage for you. So another company might think it as a uniqueness and use it as a product. So what Tarun said, like might be sometime later people companies might think I want to be unique in my way. So they keep it as a brand manager, or they do it by themselves. So that becomes again a trend. So how can we constantly keep changing, keep be at our toes, and keep changing our development strategies and all.
My reflection was that we have to see the other possibilities of what could happen, and it's not only because you will be good at that time, but you will be working more efficiently in the normal stage also. And my second reflection is that
Right. Anybody else who wants to go for the reflection?
Well, I liked Aryan's point that thinking from the user's perspective also, it becomes very important when you're making a product, because you just can't think from the product mindset, but you also have to think from the perspective of the person who's going to use your product. So their feelings, their emotions, it's also important that as a CPO you take that into account.
Okay. Looks like the jurors are back, so we'll be now starting the third round, the jury round. I'm sure the jury have been waiting on some very interesting questions. We'd love to hear your questions.
I can go first. Firstly, I totally commend all of you guys to come in front of a large audience on social media, YouTube, LinkedIn, and present your idea. And most importantly, when people are challenging you, asking probing questions, how composed you guys are, in responding. Terrific, really, really great. So I have a couple of questions, and I would encourage all the three members to.
You could go over them one after the other.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
You could go over the questions one after the other. You'll get to rebut their answers as well.
Perfect. And I would encourage all the three of you to answer. And Aryan, don't worry about background noise. Just go ahead and answer. So don't let that bother you. So yeah. So my first question is, I think one of the steps or one of the weeks where you were asking customers, right? It was slightly later, right? It was week 8 or week 12. Oh, I'm sorry, week 8 or week 9. My question to you is, how confident that you are on your basic product premise, right? The idea. How can you be sure that your idea is a good one?
I think we can see if our idea is a good one and if it will help the customers and if it will solve their problems by going and showing them the app and asking them, do you think will this help you? And during the week 9 and 10 process where we take feedback, we'll also ask that.
Okay.
And
And
also
what if-
before, yes.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, and also before we start the product, we'll conduct interviews of future customers to see what they want and how would they want it.
Oh, good. That was the piece I was missing, actually. So you will conduct some interviews at the beginning. Okay.
Uday, if I may, I have a corollary to this.
Please.
Do you see any point in time where you may just pull the plug on the product? Or you're assuming you will reach product release? Or at some point you will stop back and say, maybe this is not the product the market needs?
If people feel like they don't need it, then we'll try to change it, but we wouldn't try to like completely shut down the product.
Okay. Anybody else from Team Darwin also wants to add your version? Jay, would you want to go in? I believe you're trying to get them to speak, but you could also go in.
Yeah. So what I think for that is we would not try to pull the plug on the product, but we would try to analyze what are the things that the customer requires and what are the elements that we have with us currently. And then we'll try to inculcate some more elements by conducting the interviews which Satya mentioned. So based on the feedback from the customers and the elements that we have in our current product, we'll try to depending on the feedback and the current MVP.
Sure. Okay. Anyway, 100 days too short a time to pull the plug.
Yeah. And then honestly, we should not feel bad to pull the plug rather than continuing down the path, right? That's a great question. So in terms of measuring as you go along, I didn't hear or miss the part where you will continuously measure, right, against the OKRs that you talked about, correct? So what strategy do you have to continuously measure, or will you measure? How do you know you're succeeding?
Okay, so in the beginning, we set those OKRs for the 100 days. So we'll try to compare them with what we set, and we'll try to make like a number for them when we set the OKRs. So maybe like, for example, interview 10 customers, something like that. We'll set OKRs and see if we reach them.
Okay.
And if we did, then we are succeeding.
Okay. What if the OKRs are wrong?
We'll try to set.
Probably, yeah. So just like
Yes.
the product, yeah. So just like the product, I would say, based upon the things I mentioned, the customer might require some additional things and might not want to use some things that we are providing in the first product. So, like based on the interviews would be an integral part in setting the OKRs as well. Because at first we might miss out on most of the things that the world would really need. But yeah, so we'll try
What if
to
the
evolve.
what if the customers are wrong in giving you OKRs?
We won't entirely depend on the customers for OKRs. We'll also come up with OKRs by ourselves.
Wait, but the question still stands, right? What if your OKR is wrong? And
We'll
what if you
try.
realize it?
If we don't realize it,
No. What if you realize it midway that your OKRs were wrong?
we'll try to change them.
How?
We'll see what we went wrong, where we went wrong while setting the OKRs, and try to fix that and set them again. And this time we'll make sure that they are correct.
But then the rest of your plan was dependent on your OKR, right? So it's going to affect a lot of other things in your plan, right? So how do you deal with that?
We'll try to speed up things if we did things wrong.
Okay, looks like the jury would have a lot of questions after this answer. I welcome you to question.
Yeah, Vish, if you want to go next.
No, I was just going to say the right comment you said was plans are not etched in stone. Plans get rejigged all the time. If a plan is not rejigged, then something wrong with it. Or not following it correctly. That's the way I saw it. In fact, I had a completely different question, which was you guys said that your product will be cheap. I don't know how you came to that conclusion. How did you determine that your product is going to be cheap? I'm coming from, sorry to interrupt, Satya, I'm coming from the way you described it. It needs to have quite a bit of AI and deep learning built into it. And of course, I don't know how you're going to get it done in 2 weeks. Assuming you get it done in 2 weeks, what's the logic behind saying it is going to be cheap for sure?
Compared to other things in the market, like that also do the same thing like us, like brand managers and other companies, CPOs, maybe. It will be cheaper since we're using technology and they can customize what we're using, and also because like you just have to buy it once, you don't have to keep on buying it. You don't have to like pay a salary to a brand manager.
So can I ask a follow-up to that, Vish?
Sure.
So yeah. And again, I would encourage all the three of you to respond. So from talking about price, right? How do you know to fix a price? What is it? Like, is it 100 rupees, 150, 200? How will you arrive at that number, right? Like, you talked about being very cheap, right? Cost effective, right? As compared to what about the market prices? How do you arrive at that price? Any idea?
We try to compare with other things that are there, like brand managers, and see how much they cost and what they're doing.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
What if your costs are 200 rupees and to beat the competition, you have to price it at 100? You know what I mean?
That means that the other thing or person doesn't give that much quality as us. We're not saying that we'll be the cheapest in the entire market, but we'll be at a cost-effective price.
Okay. So I don't know if you heard about the triangle where they talk about like, cost, speed, and quality, right? You can get only two or many times only one, right? Like, so you got speed, you'll deliver within 100 days, 2 weeks, and you want cheap and high quality. You know what I mean? How do you balance those three different, potentially unbalanceable things?
So probably, like as you mentioned, it is hard to balance them all at once at the start, I would say. But as we move on, we would try to maintain the quality and speed as it is, but we will try to bring down the cost depending on what we are like. What are the things that we can sort of cut down on the costs of production and like development or updates or anything. So we'll not first, but gradually we'll try to do it.
Okay, so if I can just help you guys a bit, what are you building in your first 100 days? Your grand product?
No.
I'm not allowed to speak more than this.
Okay. So we wouldn't really promise that we're gonna make it super quickly. It might take time, and this is also the only the first few versions. It's not the entire fully released product.
So how do you link it to their question?
Sorry, I have a clarificatory question there, Satya. I thought you said that day 99 and 100, you're going to get the final product. So my assumption was that's the release product.
Not
You're now saying
like,
that's pre-release?
not completely final product, like, but very close to final product, but we'll always keep releasing new versions and new iterations.
Okay, so the question for the team is day 100, will you collect money from the customer for using the product?
If they buy the product, yes.
Of course. So it's a saleable product and therefore it's a released product.
Yes.
Okay.
So in the interest of time, I'll have to close this round here.
Sure.
We request the jurors to move to the jury room. And Satya, I'll have to tell you, if you can deliver this product in 100 days, I think most startup CEOs are going to hire you as their CPO. So
he will run his own startup.
Yeah. So while the jurors do the scoring, any reflections? Okay, I have reflections. Point number one, do you think, as a CPO, in 100 days, you can't be building the whole product. So what do you think your focus is? What are you trying to do in the company in 100 days?
We're trying to build a okay-ish version of the product.
It's your MVP, right?
Yes.
So is your MVP expected to have that quality, that price, and all those benefits already?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's an MVP. It's a kind of upgraded version of the MVP.
You think you can build an upgraded version of the MVP in 100 days? You know why I said God bless your software developers?
Why?
It takes much more time to actually code. 2 weeks goes into testing the quality of the product code itself.
Okay, then
Development itself might take 2 to 3 months.
then I guess we'll change the numbers from not version 3, but only MVP or version.
So what do you think you should do? You know you can't do software development in 100 days. So what do you think you'd do?
Try to see other products on which we can base our product on.
Exactly. You not do much of software development initially. You try to use open source codes or tools and so on. Rapid prototyping. Okay, that was a very good discussion. So the jury is back. Looks like the jury is also catching up with the format. So yeah, now over to Team Eric Ries. We'll be accelerating the process now for the second team. So Team Eric Ries, you have your 1 minute for your pitch. Yeah.
Okay, so our service is basically empower patients with relevant knowledge based on reliable information, and the product is healthcare.
Sorry. Can you go over this again? You were too fast.
Sure. Okay, I'll tell my product first. It's the healthcare self-diagnosis app.
Okay.
The service is basically empower patients with relevant knowledge based on reliable information, and also give information to doctors, so that they also have the updated versions of what is going on and all, and what is the latest disease and all coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, so our 100-day plan, basically it's the MVP that we are going to develop. So first is the idea generation that we are going to have in the stage 1.
Okay.
Then in the stage 2, we'll have the idea screening, because we have different ideas which has come up from different kinds of research and all, after doing all kinds of SWOT analysis. So we'll do the idea screening then.
Okay.
Then is step 3. We'll do the concept development and testing. Blueprint of the product development idea is formulated here.
Okay.
Then step 4, we'll have a business strategy analysis, in-depth analysis of the product management basically.
Okay.
Then we have the step 5, which is business and financial analysis. the cost projections and all we have to see.
Okay.
Step 6, we have the product development, basically approval of all the steps, and then which we develop into an actual tangible sort of product, the app basically.
Okay.
Then we have the stage 7, which is test marketing. We'll do the actual finished product for sale in one or more sample market setting and observe how well it is used.
Okay.
And then finally we have the so-called MVP launch that will count to 100 days. We have divided it into days.
So each stage has equal amount of time?
No, sorry. So stage 1 will have 0 to 20 days.
Okay.
Stage 2 will have 20 to 40 days.
Okay.
Stage 3 will have 40 to 50 days. Stage 4 will have 50 to 55 days.
Okay.
Then 55 to 60 days.
You mean day 50 to day 55, right?
Yeah. Day 50
That
to
was
day
misleading.
55. Yeah. Then day 55 to day 60.
Okay.
Then product development.
So I'm sending all these, I've typed this, I'm sending all this in the jury WhatsApp group so the jurors can probably go through this. And in case you'd like to, I can share my screen and display this if that will help you with your questioning. I've typed this whole thing, so maybe I'll share my screen and show it to you. So yeah, so stage 5 is day 55 to
60.
60. Okay. And stage
Then,
6?
Yeah, 60 to 75 days.
Okay.
Then test marketing will be 75 to 85 days.
Okay.
And finally, the launch with lot of iterations and everything, we will be taking 85 to 100 days.
Okay. Thank you. So teams have sent it on the WhatsApp group. So in case you guys want to see the plan, you can see it on the WhatsApp group. I'm also sharing my screen for you guys in case you want to have a look at the plan. So this is the plan, idea generation. So, yeah. Okay. You want to keep my screen open this way, or is it okay if I stop my screen sharing now?
Screenshot.
Sorry, you want to see the screen?
No, I've taken screenshots. So.
You have taken screenshots. Okay, great. You're using tech.
Yeah. So in stage 1, what all will you do in idea generation phase?
Sorry.
What would you do during stage 1?
Yeah. In idea generation stage, basically we'll understand the current problem faced by already existing products and the real problem faced by people. And through, strengths, weakness, opportunities, threats, we will take into consideration at this stage. So the idea is basically being generated at this stage.
How will you do all of the things that you said?
Okay. How will I do it? Through, market research, through interviews, through questionnaires, through surveys, we'll try to do that.
Who will you interview?
The target population. Basically, we are targeting a lot of, audience. So yes, we'll have a good sample of population to target basically.
Okay. How will you make the app, make the product without having a team?
Without it, sorry, last part I did not get.
Without having a team?
Okay, yeah, we already have a team. We have a team of, product development. We have a team who are, into, product development, and they have, skill sets to do that.
Okay.
And there are experienced as well as freshers who are there in our team.
What are the virtues your product has?
Okay.
One is scalability, second is low price, third is also like the geographic aspect of it. So yeah, and also the quality.
Okay.
Aryan, you can go ahead.
So you mentioned that you have a large sample to collect because you have many target audience. So will you interview and survey everybody or?
No, we'll pick up, a sample. It's not possible for us to do it in that 100 days, like, taking everybody's opinion, but yes, a set of, we will select a sample from there.
So will you do it
So,
randomly selection?
no. So initially we will go with people aged from 60 to 80 years of age, because potentially these people are the ones who need healthcare majorly. So we will go and speak to them ki if there is an app which helps you self-diagnose yourself and connects you with doctors around you and across the country, then will it be helpful, and then gather our data.
Why have you selected 20 days for the whole stage?
Because we don't want to put too much thoughts into, if we put too much thought into just gathering the data, then we might not be able to come up with a product at the end of the day. So we are just experimenting with this audience, and later on we can democratize our survey.
And we already have, surveys and all with us.
Though
So,
we're accelerating the process, so we'll take one answer at a time. Yeah, one more question if Team Darwin wants to ask. Okay, so we'll conclude the first round of Team 2. In case the jurors are comfortable, you could score here itself. Otherwise, you could move to the breakout room where Ananya is happy to help you.
I'm okay staying here.
Yeah, it's good to hear it. Yeah.
So, any reflections while the jury is scoring?
I think the days that I have mentioned is quite abnormal, but yeah, I had to put in some numbers. So, but that needs a lot of, thinking, like, how many days to be put into each and every stage. That needs a lot of thinking. So maybe that is one thing.
I think the numbers and the things that we plan should be very well calculated and there for a reason. There must be thought process going in for every single step that we are going towards.
Okay, anyone else?
Yes, so I have a question, probably not a reflection. So while in the idea generation stage, in the first 20 days, they will be interviewing and taking the opinions from the 60 to 80 years of age. But you mentioned that your app will be catering to the doctors as well as the people out there. So is there any, would you take the interview of people as well as doctors?
Yeah, both.
Okay, 1 minute. We'll have to start round 2 now. The jury is done scoring. Yeah, please forgive me. I'm trying to keep up with the time. So question 1. So doctors are already a part of different learning communities and they're already updated, right? So how will your app add value to doctors?
Can you just repeat once more?
Doctors are already a part of
yeah. Let's take example of COVID. The doctors already, they are well educated, but when COVID came, they did not know how to handle it or what was the. So our app might bring in some research data from various scientists. Sorry?
So who creates content for your app? Who creates content for your app? World Health Organization? Or?
Yes,
not directly, but yeah, the data from WHO we can use on our
So my question is, how is it that you're getting the content which is not available on those platforms already?
We will get it first in hand. Whenever it gets released, we will get it first in hand and we'll try to, educate
but the other communities also might be getting the same content. So how is this a USP?
Maybe till then we can get doctors from different countries to exchange their ideas and perspectives or ideations and disciplines. So
but such platforms already exist, right, where doctors communicate.
And also, like, every doctor is, I mean, maybe, there are specialized doctors who are into, a lot of information and all, but not every doctor. So we'll try to, like general physicians and all, they are not very, I mean, up to date with the current information. So we will try to, educate them as well.
Okay, and next question is, do you think old people can understand your product? Because many of the old people may not be tech savvy.
Yeah, but I mean, there are young people who can,
But you
teach
said in your survey you're going to
their,
talk to old people.
sorry?
You said in your survey you're initially going to survey old people.
Yeah, we are going to talk to
going
them.
to survey
So,
old
I think
people, but
it would
I
be
did
nice if
not
you
say
can let
that.
your team members also answer. Yeah. It would be nice if you can let your team members also answer. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
So the survey will be for old people, but when the app gets released, there might be people who might help them. If that is an issue, so that our survey will calculate that these old people do not have the resources or the technology, then maybe our app can also provide some people who can go with tablets or go with certain devices to help those people, like in old age homes.
Sure. So one last question, which a lot of people are asking. Self-diagnosis is can be a very dangerous idea. So how are you going to take care of the safety if people, use this product in a way they shouldn't be used?
Yeah, one thing what we kept in mind while, developing this idea was, we get a lot of fake things from Google. We try to, search engine and do a lot of, research for different kinds of diseases. So in our app, that is the, main thing, like, we are going to give,
This doesn't answer my question. My question is, what if someone gets into home remedies and home diagnosis and so on without getting expert help? That could be a dangerous idea. How are you factoring this in?
Connect the patient with the doctor, so everything is under doctor's surveillance. This is not their own remedies.
Wait, but you said it is self-diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
So once they self-diagnose, that is when we will suggest them that these are the potential doctors who might help you out. You can contact any of them through our app. We are not suggesting any medication.
What if that self-diagnosis goes wrong?
That's why we are sending them to doctors.
Then why do self-diagnosis? They can directly go to a doctor.
They can directly go to a doctor, but the point is, for common cold or something like that, people don't generally run to a doctor.
What if people don't go to a doctor when they actually had to go to a doctor because of your product?
No, I mean, when it
so exactly why we are giving them that self-diagnosis, maybe we put some levels. You are on this level. It is suggested.
One minute. Sorry, 1 minute. You just said if it's a small thing with your self-diagnosis, they'll not go to a doctor. What if they had a big problem and they consider that to be a small problem and don't go to a doctor because of your app?
No, but the app is quite quality. I mean, they will give, the right information. They will not mislead.
What if your app goes wrong? It's a human life which is at stake.
Okay. Okay. If it goes wrong, so its chances are very less. So if it goes wrong, maybe
it's a human life. I hope we understand that.
Yeah, then I mean, if it somehow it goes wrong, then there are doctors who will cater to it. Maybe
No, but the person isn't going to a doctor because of your app.
So
maybe we are never telling them at any stage to not go to a doctor.
Then why should we leave their app?
To see if it is something which they should go for. I mean, we are potentially pushing them to the doctors, but to help them realize the need that they need to go to a doctor.
I'll stop it here, but I see a contradiction there. So I request the jurors to be done with the scoring. I'm sure you have a lot of questions to ask in the jury round. So, yeah. Any reflections? And I'm sure there are plenty of them as well. Yeah. You've given us enough fodder, so yeah.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
So maybe at that stage we would like valuable feedback givers like you who would really help us and help our build and iterate our product if there are flaws in it. So thank you for this feedback. So we will really work on that. And the MVP stage, we will really work and fix the issues that we face, like you mentioned.
But the fundamental problem is in the philosophy of the product itself, right? Anyone else? Any reflections?
But there are different kinds of, mental health apps and these kind of apps, right? So why do people go to, because this is very easy and it will also help people to, first get the diagnosis on the
We'll
app
stop this
itself.
here and take the jury questions. We're trying to accelerate stuff. Yeah, we are happy to take the jury questions.
I have a very simple question, which is I couldn't understand what is the definition of the product, because it seemed to say diagnosis. Then you also said you're going to point to a doctor, and the audience had questions saying, what if they don't go to a doctor? And you also wanted to send people home. So where are the boundaries of your product?
Yeah, this is a self-diagnosis app. Here, everybody is in this platform. So doctors are here, patients will be coming. They will get a first.
It will help if you can actually listen to the
Okay.
question and answer the question. His question was, what are the boundaries of the app? What does the app do?
Okay, patients will go to this app and they'll get the first, if I have some problem like fever or something like, so I, go over there in that app and I
So
get.
if you understood the self-diagnosis part, apart from that, what else does your app do?
Okay, once at one point of time, if it's very, it's not manageable through that app, then the app will also suggest you to the nearest doctors.
Okay. One, it does self-diagnosis. Two, it might recommend a doctor. Anything else that your app does?
But helps in finding, like we also ask our patient for the ranges or something sometimes, so make it cost effective. And also it suggests a location URL. So if nearby doctors, they can help us.
Okay, it suggests doctors basis location, budget, and it gives you self-diagnosis support. This is what your app does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have helped if you would have given us a definition like this. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I have a question, right? And by the way, this topic is extremely close to my heart. I ran a healthcare startup, for 2 years in India, a few years back. So one of the biggest challenges would be the contradiction between what patients want and what doctors want. Correct. How do you bridge that gap? Right, you're talking about patient diagnosing, and for lack of a better word, the doctors hate it. Correct. So so how do you and then secondly, part two of my question is, how do you monitor?
We'll take a response to this and come back for the second part. Yeah, you guys can respond to the question.
Okay.
If my question is not clear, I'd be more than glad to clarify.
You meant like, how will we bridge the gap?
No, how do you deal with that contradiction? One doesn't want that self-diagnosis and maybe one wants it. So how do you deal with that contradiction between what the doctor wants and what the patient wants? Yeah, Yushi, go ahead.
So it could be that we are giving them the self-diagnosis to help them realize the need for the doctor and not for the need to cure themselves at home. So it's more focused towards their well-being rather than focusing on what they want. It's focused on what they need.
Yeah.
That comes to part two of my question, which is monetization, right? How do you make money from patients or doctors or both? And there's an inherent contradiction here.
We'll deal with the contradiction later. First, we'll take the stance. Who pays for your product? Doctor or patient or both?
Mainly both, because customers, we provide them these services, like these things, and also the doctors, because we are acting as a mid agent for them to get.
Okay, got your point. Back to that. Yeah.
So so the bridging that contradiction becomes extremely important. when you're trying to make money off both sides of the coin. So let me switch to a different question, right? Like, in terms of credibility, do you think credibility is important? Credibility of your app, your service. Okay. How do you gain credibility in the eyes of patients? How do you gain credibility in the eyes of doctors?
Come over the how do you get credibility on patients? Like that is understood, but how on doctors as in?
Why should
How is
doctors?
doctor?
Why would doctors trust you? As simple as that.
So we might
No, I just have a question. Why should they not trust us again? I did not think of this aspect.
So if I understand your product, so what's the benefit the doctor's gaining from the app? I'm sorry, maybe I should start there.
If I may just add there, I think the way I would look at it is, forget trust. Why will the doctor pay?
Exactly.
Why would the doctor
pay? Because you're going to ask the doctor also to pay.
Anyway, I mean, the doctors will have more to, I mean, they will earn more, right? Anyway, because they will have their own consultation, as well as they are using this through this app, they can, increase their, I mean, they can increase their, I mean, they get more, right? I mean, the patient.
Oh,
the
this
contradiction
is
will
patient
kick
sourcing,
in.
is it?
Yeah. Is that so? Meaning you're directing more patients to the doctors? Is that part of your?
I mean, I would not see it as patient sourcing, but it's like.
By the way, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like,
people. Nothing wrong with like that word creates a negative connotation, but the thing is that there are some people who need help, but they don't go for it. And as a doctor, you take that oath to help as much as possible. So we are bringing that people who need help to you.
So we'll close this round here in the interest of time. So maybe I think once you're done scoring, we'd love to hear both of your observations and remarks over the overall dialogue. So I'd like to ask Team Darwin, while you guys were observing and hearing that, any reflections?
Yes, so I have one. While the team Eric Rees was being asked of the boundaries of the product, I sort of realized that while starting on ideating a product, like the ideas coming in, the factors of who will the audience or the user would be becomes an important part, and how will the to productize will be affected in general.
Thanks, Jay. I think now we'd like to get the jury remarks. I'm sure all the participants would be eagerly waiting to hear your observations and any suggestions you'd want to give all of us.
Are we talking about overall observations, Tarun, not both ideas, right?
Yeah, overall.
Yeah. Sure. Wish you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. So the one thing in both the ideas, and in fact, like 99% of the cases, right, the challenge becomes, how do you avoid cognitive bias, right? As an example, in the second idea that you had, so you had a germ of an idea already before you started the research, correct? So you said, like, you're going to do sampling, you'll do surveys, you'll do research, but you already had the germ of an idea, right? So how do you not fall into a trap? Same goes for the first idea too. I think, majority of us, we want our ideas to succeed. We fall in love with our own ideas. In startup world, in product definition, in product ideation to taking it to production, that is such an important factor, at least in my experience, where majority quite a few of us would falter. And then the second point is like product market fit, right? Like how do you know your product is right and the market is reacting positively? How do you get to that place as quickly as possible, as cost effectively as possible? In both the cases, you said like we already have a product team in place. Where do you get the money? Tarun and I, we've been chatting offline over the last few years. That is probably the single biggest challenge for all startups, right? Like it's a chicken and egg, right? Where do you get the funding? Where do you get the product team in place? So that's number two. And then third point is like monetization, right? No matter which way you cut it, if you don't make money, unless it's a voluntary non-profit organization, that's a whole different concept. But if you're in the business of actually trying to monetize, how do you make, and margins become extremely important, right? Like in the first idea where we talked about, right, the product being cheaper doesn't always get us there, unfortunately, if we like it or not, right? How much money you make per unit, the unit economics will many times will let your company survive or die. So I'll pause there.
Okay. My thought, what I see, both the situations you talked about, I think you picked really difficult products. Okay, the products were fairly service-intensive products. Okay, and that itself was a barrier for you. And I thought the second team had a good structure, which is you did say that financials came in stage 5. Therefore, you had the option of telling us, guys, we don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay. But you try to answer the questions because the question came there, whereas therefore you are answering on day 100, whereas you're actually on day 0. Okay. That's the perspective, which holds true everywhere. I mean, you just have to live with what you have. It's good to say, I don't know, when you don't know, and you can figure it out. And startup, like they said, I guess what I hear of all startups is everything changes every day, as long as you're going towards an end. Okay. The other piece, I think maybe the problem statement kind of put you inside a box, is product can have a service component added to it. Okay, which is all product companies have an AMC, and that's how you sort of do some things. And you also said something about some things, if they can't do, I will do better. In the example of the brand management, I will do some more stuff. Well, I can bring in experts, and in a sense, to make it a platinum product. When you get down to business, meaning some things give you a little more than what the other things do, because Tarun kept saying that everybody has the same product. So you can create differentiation, which you need to sort of think about, is the way sort of I looked at it from a what is a product perspective. It doesn't have to be a sold once and forgotten. It's not a carton you pick from the supermarket. It's an ongoing engagement, because it can be a subscription, which you'll get to when you get down to the business model and where you will make money. But I also observed that in both the cases, what you started with and what we ended with, there were some differences, which demonstrated you were thinking as you were answering. And that's a necessary thing to do in life, rather than get stuck with what you said first.
Thanks a lot, Uday, and thanks a lot, Vish. I think both your feedback would be extremely helpful as the teams get into more Socratic dialogue. So I especially like that analysis where, you're probably trapped into answering as though you already completed everything while you're just setting up your plan. And it was more of, adding on to what you were saying, I think what I observed was, it was more about them presenting their 100-day plan and talking about how they'll execute the job. But instead of presenting their 100-day plan, they got caught into presenting the product. And the whole idea of taking up that job was to say that, okay, in 100 days, this is where I'll get to if you give me the job. But you're trying to present the product itself on day 0, where I think you got caught into that. You were like Abhimanyu inside that Vyuha, and there was no way you were getting out of it with that. So I thought that was a great analysis. So I'd like to thank both the jurors for taking off your valuable time, and thank all the participants for giving us a wonderful dialogue to listen to explore technological product management, such interesting examples. Thanks a lot, everyone. So next weekend, we're going to be having a young CXO dialogue. So we request all of you to subscribe to our channel so you can get updated about the future Socratic dialogues which will be coming. So thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, folks. It was a wonderful
Thank you.
evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.